Chapter 18, The Metropolitan Intelligence Bureau. All right, so I'm guessing you've never heard of the MIB. And nah, I'm not talking about the Men in Black movies. No Will Smith, no cool sunglasses, no memory erasing gadgets. These guys called themselves the Metropolitan Intelligence Bureau. But honestly, they could have been cops, MI5, or even some off-brand FBI, CIA, KGB knockoff. All I knew was they had mad reach. Like they knew what was happening to me before I even did. Creepy, right? I've already told you about how the police play their little power games. Arrest, detain, harass, intimidate, basically make your life hell just because they can. You'd think that once they've broken you down, once you've thrown your hands up like, all right, I'm done, I'm out, they'd back off. Nope, not how this game works. It all started when these two random guys rolled up on me in Winchester Prison. I'd just been sent to HMP Woodhill, a high-security ACAT prison, even though my offense was white-collar. Made 0 sense. Not long after I got there, this massive bearded guy, a convert by the looks of it, absolutely lost it just being in the same room as me. Next day, I had a legal visit with my solicitor, Rhiannon. People were already side-eyeing my placement in a high-security prison, emailing the governor, basically saying, "What the hell is he doing here?" After the visit, I got shoved into this holding room. Big windows, a few prisoners chilling, but 3 of them, bearded Muslims, including Beardy McRageface from earlier. I already knew what was about to go down. The guards locked me in and dipped like it was none of their business. I stayed standing, back to the corner, chin down, eyes up. Street Smarts 101. And then boom, dude charges me. I grab him with one hand, I can't afford to hit the floor, and start swinging with the other. 2 more jump in. The rest? Just watching. But I get it. Getting involved would have been a death sentence in that place. By the time the guards finally decided to care, my teeth were gone, my skull was split, my eye was swollen shut. But hey, still breathing. Lucky me. Did they take me to the hospital? Nah. Straight to my cell. A few days later, I got moved to Winchester, a way better prison where I could do normal time. I was healing up when these 2 mystery blokes came knocking. They claimed they were from the Metropolitan Intelligence Bureau, MIB. Never heard of it. They told me it was a secret Scotland Yard unit dealing with organized crime. Super hush-hush. They said even the other prisoners, my family, no one had to know they came. Okay, suspicious much? After they left, I realized there were about a dozen questions I should have asked. I checked with my solicitor, even asked around, but nobody knew a thing about this so-called MIB. I still have their numbers. Just tried calling one and, surprise, surprise, deadline. The other? Weird voicemail setup. No answer. At the time, one guy, Ollie, did most of the talking. He said they were curious about me, wanted to know why I'd left the EDL. They were surprised no one had approached me before. Whatever the hell that meant. Then they hit me with their real reason for being there. They wanted my help. They were all about infiltrating the far-right scene, especially Paul Golding and Britain First. They wanted to get a grip on these messy, fragmented groups. And apparently, they thought I was the guy to do it. They basically wanted me to be their inside man. I told them, nah, I was done. Time to move on. Work, life, family, the usual. They didn't like that answer. We need your help dealing with troublesome people, they said. Oh, I get it. You don't want help. You want a snitch. Can you believe the audacity? These guys had spent 5 years wrecking my life, dragging my family through hell, and now they wanted me to switch sides? The meeting lasted 2 hours. They even dangled money in front of me. I laughed in their faces. I hit them with something like, "You've spent years trying to take me down and now you want my help?" Yeah, right. Told them I was done, walking away, end of story. Except it wasn't. Round 2, highway shakedown. I was out on license for about 6 weeks when I got pulled over on the M1 in South Yorkshire. Not 1, not 2, but 3 police cars. What for? No clue. I was driving a blue Audi, registered to a dealer mate of mine. But the cops told me it was linked to a burglary 70 miles away. Bruh, even the guy I was meeting called later like, "Yo, the police just grilled me about you." I swear, if I went to buy a pack of toilet paper, the cops would be on me like, was that luxury or budget? They took me in at 2 p.m., held me until past midnight, then suddenly drove me all the way to Humberside. Why? Still no clue. Then they pulled some next-level Cinderella shit. Their witness said the burglars were a black guy and a 6'1" blonde dude. I just burst out laughing. Like, come on, I'm 5'6", and last I checked, I'm not a black guy. The cop actually tried to stretch my height. Like, you're 5'10", right? Mate, I wish. They kept me overnight, humiliated me with strip searches, tried to drug test me, and then suddenly, they dropped the case. It was all just a setup. Again. Round 3, the we can help trap. The very next day, I got a mystery call. Guess who? Again, we can make your problems disappear, he said. You're in deep. Let us help. These slimy bastards had arranged the whole thing. I told them where to go. Again. But they weren't done. Next, they sent random mediators to my house. Some man and woman showed up out of nowhere, claiming to help people who don't want to snitch but still need support. Yeah, right? I asked who was paying them. They dodged the question. I told them to get lost. Then, right on cue, I got hit with a 315,000 pounds proceeds of crime claim. Even though I had a deal saying there wouldn't be one, the judge actually called bullshit on the whole thing, but still hit me with 125,000 pounds. And guess what? MIB called. Again. We can make that go away. All I had to do? Sell my soul. But nah. I told them, I'll pay my debts and you lot can fuck right off. They thought they could break me. They thought they could own me. They were wrong. So this all went down on the Friday before I was supposed to speak at the Oxford Union the next Thursday. One of the biggest L's about being hit with a white-collar charge was that my probation terms said I couldn't have any contact with the EDL. Like, what? Make it make sense. I'd already told Sue Beaumont I was going to spill the tea at Oxford. Give those students the full download on the MIB, the Doncaster stunt, the financial harassment, all of it. Looking back, telling my probation officer was probably a dumb move, let alone letting her know I was about to air it all out in front of the Oxford Union. But honestly, I was low-key worried about what these people were going to pull next. They'd been on my neck nonstop, and I felt like someone needed to hear what was going down. I stupidly thought I could trust Sue. Not even sure how much of what I told her she actually believed. I mean, she's part of the system, so she probs has blind faith in how it all works. But even she admitted what was happening to me was straight-up sabotage. And get this, she had the audacity to ask me to stop dragging the police and move on. Like, excuse me? As if I was the problem here. She claimed she'd hit up Bedfordshire police and try to get them to back off. Like this was just some random officer with a grudge. Spoiler alert, that was not the case. Then they went after my old mate in London just because we did some business together. Pressured the guy who bought my sunbeds. Even raided my boy in Daventry for tax and VAT. Dude was clean as a whistle. But get this, some cop was gassing himself up, bragging about how they had my mate's garage under surveillance, saying it was linked to dangerous people. Couldn't keep his mouth shut. Luckily, I got a heads up and warned my guy. When the cops rolled up, his books were tidy and they looked real dumb. But Sue? Nah. She still believed everything was done by the book. Should have clocked that earlier. Her left-wing vibes were showing. Whenever she came over for probation visits, we never touched on the mortgage case, which you'd think would be, like, the entire point of my rehabilitation. Nah, she'd rather debate my views on Islam. She'd get all pressed because I said Muhammad was a pedo. I told her, bro, he married a 6-year-old and had sex with her at 9. That's not even me saying it. That's just history. She got mad and was like, but young Muslim girls are groomed too. And I'm like, not by white men, they're not. Awkward. Honestly, I should have known better than to trust her. So, fast forward. Friday mortgage case hearing happens. Saturday morning, I take my kids swimming. We get home and boom, cops are at my door. Apparently, I'd breached my license. Not only was I not going to Oxford Union, I was going back to jail. Social media and free speech? A joke. I said it at the start. I've spent way too much time on Twitter. Still do. Part of it is me just being pissed at the system. Part of it, I literally have nothing else to do because the state froze my assets and made sure I couldn't earn. But Twitter also taught me something. Free speech is a myth. I was first invited to speak at Oxford in 2013, but when news broke, people like UAF flooded the uni with threats, and they canceled me. Same thing happened with Trinity University in Dublin. But then some Oxford students caught wind of my comments, calling them out for rolling over, and in 2014, they invited me back. Props to them for standing their ground, unlike some bigger orgs that straight up folded. Even BBC Newsnight and ITV Daybreak pulled the same stunt, invited me on, then ghosted when they got flooded with backlash. It was obvious someone higher up went, nah, too much heat. So, now, I play it smart. I don't tweet about media invites until I'm actually in the chair. The threats, the setup, and the luck. A few days before I got recalled to jail, some Nazi weirdo with the handle 1488 Hitler was in my mentions, threatening to rape my mom and kill me. Then, some absolute clown named Barry Butler from Birmingham tweets out my mom's address. Nah, not happening. I clapped back at 480 Hitler and told him, if you want me that bad, pull up. I'll be outside Bedford Probation Office tomorrow at 11. No way was he finding my mum. Meanwhile, we tracked down an address for this Barry Butler guy. I rolled up, banged on the door, ready to go off. Guy comes out looking confused. Turns out, wrong Barry Butler. My bad. We found the actual Barry Butler a few miles away. His wife took one look at me and slammed the door. Dude wouldn't come out, so I was yelling outside his house. That got the neighbors' attention. Then sirens. When Butler finally stepped out, he was an old bloke, a thalidomide. I straight up asked, what the hell do you think you're doing posting my mom's address? You want her raped? Killed? The police showed up and asked what I was doing. Told them I was there because they wouldn't do their damn job. Eventually, Butler deleted the tweet. Funny thing, Bedfordshire police had already warned me. If I ever retweeted threats against me, I could be arrested. They wouldn't do jack about the actual threats, but if I amplified them, illegal. Make that make sense. So naturally, I kept putting the threats out there just to ask why I was the one getting in trouble while the psycho sending them got a free pass. The setup. Sue Beaumont called me a few weeks before, asking what I planned to say at Oxford and when. The whole convo felt sus, like other people were listening in. But probation rules. I had to spill, and I did. So dumb. That little rant cost me a month in jail and probably another state-sponsored attempt on my life. What a joke. The morning after the whole 1488 Hitler Barry Butler mess, I went to my probation appointment. Obviously, the guy never showed. They never do. Weird thing. Sue didn't ask about my speech this time. Just wanted to know the date. Makes sense now. She knew I wouldn't be going. Later, I spoke to Helen Bean, another probation officer. She was always cool with me. But then she hit me with, why'd you tell someone on Twitter you'd be at probation today? Oh, so they were watching. I explained about the threats, but then I flipped the question, how do you know about my tweet? She admitted the police had been in touch. Cool, so they saw the threats. Perfect. That meant if this psycho actually showed up, they'd arrest him, right? Right? Nope. Of course not. They told me I should have reported it instead, even though I'd already reported hundreds of threats over the years, with zero action. The arrest, Saturday morning. 2 guys sitting outside my house in a car. Didn't know who they were. I grabbed a knife, because who even knew at this point? Knock at the door. They passed their badges through the letterbox. Cops. They were actually chill. Said they didn't want to do this. Sent my kids upstairs. Turns out I was being arrested over that one tweet saying I'd be outside probation. And here's the kicker. The warrant was for St. Albans Crown Court, where I'd literally been the day before. So why didn't they grab me then? Oh, right. 'Cause I had a film crew with me, and they didn't want to look like idiots on camera, so they waited until the next morning to do it in front of my wife and kids instead. Sue Beaumont? Ice cold. Didn't care. And just like that, I was back in jail. Stephen, we'll come visit you, she said. Lol, sure. I told the cops to take me to Winchester, where I'd done my last stint without drama, and they were cool with it. Then they called Sue Beaumont. She was like, nah, you're off to Bedford. I was wrecked. The cops took me away, my kids were there, and I'd promised them Daddy wasn't working away again. Felt like absolute trash. Couldn't stop crying after. Later in prison, I read some guy had dropped a racial slur about a Northampton footballer on Twitter, and boom, arrested instantly. Meanwhile, Mo Ansar tweets all sorts of wild stuff and gets off scot-free. Double standards? Understatement of the century. I told one of the officers, just arrest one of these trolls and the rest will chill. But no, they let people say whatever they wanted about me, my wife, my kids, even my mom. One Scottish dude straight up said he was going to behead me. I reported it. He saw that, laughed, and said, "The police fucking hate you." Hard to argue with that. Since it was the weekend, they held me at Kempston Police HQ until Monday, then shipped me off to Bedford. I told them, "You know what's going to happen. Why are you doing this?" They couldn't even look at me. I saw it playing out in real time. Throw me into a war zone, let things pop off, and bam, I catch another charge. Total setup. No more license, 9 more months inside. I'd left the EDL and was actively trying to avoid drama, but trouble found me anyway. Back in the day, I had a rule. Run once, you run forever. But I was trying to grow. Trying. And yet here we are. At Bedford, I clocked the main officer at reception. His brother and I used to hang out. He pulled me aside and said, "I'll do what I can, but mate, you're in deep. It's bad in there." He checked the wing stats. How many Muslims, what kind of sentences they had. If they were in for 6 months, they wouldn't risk killing me. But the lifers? Nothing to lose. He went through the list. Lifer here, lifer there. I thought, Jesus, I'm here on a 28-day recall and this is what I'm dealing with? I asked for solitary for the 28 days, but nah. They wanted me in general pop, surrounded by people who literally wanted me dead. Offered me a spot with the nonces. Not happening. I requested B-Wing, where I had some mates. It got sent up to the governor. I even wrote a full-on essay to him, laying out the threats, my past attacks, all my Osmond warnings. Made it crystal clear. If I get put in general pop, I will have to fight to survive. Welcome to a wing, aka hell. The governor's response? You're going to a wing. Guess where all the most hardcore violent radicals were? Ding ding. A wing. Even the officer at reception apologized. Orders from above. Nothing he could do. I asked him, "You know what's about to go down, yeah?" Got my confirmation signature, then boom. I was in the middle of it. They walked me onto the wing at 11:50 a.m. As soon as they clocked me, a roar went up. I sat in my cell, hearing the threats. "We're gonna do him." Someone screamed, "I'm gonna chop his head off." Been there, heard that, but this time, they set me up to fail. So what do? Curl up in a ball? Cry? Nah, you get ready. Lunchtime rolled around, so I walked to the canteen on my toes, fully alert. The problem? You don't know who's who anymore. Muslims in prison aren't just Asian, it's a gang thing. Anyone and everyone could be repping. I clocked an old mate, Dion Ellis, at the servery. Knew his fam, he'd converted. Wasn't worried about him. Then some white guy, McDonald, turned around and snarled, "I'm fucking Muslim, bruv." Oh, here we go. It popped off. We scrapped across the servery, and I battered him. I hadn't even been inside for an hour, but I knew it had to happen. They were plotting to rush me in my cell, so I took control. If it was going down, it was going down on my terms. After, the guards dragged me out. I yelled at them, "What the fuck did you expect?" Locked in my cell, I kept arguing through the window. Cowards. Fucking cowards. They screamed back, "We'll get you." Meanwhile, other prisoners walked past giving me thumbs up, shh, when the radicals weren't looking. Quiet support. Everyone was scared to speak up. Down to solitary. The prison realized they had a riot brewing and finally moved me to solitary for my own safety. I called the governor out. "Oh, now it's for my safety? Why not 3 hours ago?" We both knew the answer. They wanted me dead. Spent 2 days down there. The guys in the cells next to me were proper nuts. One guy, Johnny, was in solitary for wrecking a courtroom cell. Next to him, Ryan O'Leary, another mad one. Then guess who they threw into the cell next to me? McDonald, the white Muslim I just fought. Now he was nervous. Started asking, "We good?" Realized we knew the same people. Oh, now he wants to chat. After all that, they finally moved me to Winchester. The governor there? Top bloke. Actually let me ride out my 28 days in peace.